HARK, we are here. It is time for another Star Wars Unlimited video, and this past week was a busy week. We had an FFG live stream. We had a ton of previews from FFG and a couple from creators as well. There's a lot of information coming down because, I don't know if you know this, but as of airing of this video, Gen Con's this weekend. We've got demo decks that are going to be previewed at Gen Con. I believe we'll have some other information coming out. I am speculating that GameGenic is going to reveal its line of Star Wars Unlimited accessories at Gen Con, which is why they've been hyping us a little bit with press releases and tweets and stuff like that, right? Lots to go over. I'm going to try to structure this video a little bit differently than normal, just because I want to get things in the order that they are. You're basically going to see previews, stream previews, because that's kind of how they introduced it to us. And I feel like it's important to have that same level of information given to you as it was given to us. I'm just your aggregate here, right? I'm here to talk about my thoughts about the game and also tell you everything I know about the game to be able to give you the best information on how to interact with this game yourself. I do want to apologize in advance if you hear any noise. It is hot AF out here and I have my windows open. The blinds are closed obviously, so that way the light is correct. But if you hear anything crazy, I apologize in advance. Our art piece for this week is going to be a fantastic piece of art coming to us by way of FFG, and it is K-2S0. Now, this is directly from Rogue One. Clearly, direct interpretation of a scene from Rogue One. He's got the blaster pistol. He's got a hole in him. He's smoking. Things are smoking around him. This is a lot of the Rogue One pieces of art, like the Death Trooper. Fantastic pieces of art. This is a fantastic piece of art. It makes me excited for what a potential K-2S0 unit or leader, probably mostly unit, would do for, I would assume K-2S0 is probably aggression. Could be cunning. I don't see him essentially as Vigilant, though. I think a lot of our rebel heroes from Rogue One are going to be either cunning or aggression. As I've said before, Saw Gerrera, perfect example for aggression heroism. Jyn Erso, probably another character that is at least on the board for aggression heroism. K-2S0 definitely fits the aggression heroism, but he's also not necessarily a cunning character, although he is a little bit. He is more of a sarcastic character, which I would also tie into cunning. K-2S0, fantastic art. Whoever the artist was, unfortunately, as of recording, the name wasn't given, but when we see the card, we'll get the artist there. Fantastic card. Fantastic art. Our first preview comes by way of our friends over at Roll On Gaming. They got an exclusive preview for SOR, and it's a really, really good card. I'm excited to play it. I think you should be too. We have here the Snowtrooper Lieutenant. It is a 2-cost villainy ground unit, 2 power, 2 health, Imperial Trooper. When played, you may attack with a unit. If it's an Imperial, it gets +2/+0 for this attack. From SOR, obviously, it's a common, and it's 227 out of 252. So there's a lot to unpack here. And in fact, with the next card you'll see, it's going to be a little bit more clear on what we're going to be seeing in SOR, at least when it comes to villainy and heroism units. Great unit for Imperials because it does several things. It can be drawn by Tarkin. It allows you to work with maximum firepower on the low end. It gives you the ability to attack with other Imperial units if they are ready, and just kind of gives you a solid start for what Imperial Trooper units is going to be looking like. Now, it does say Imperial unit. It does not say Imperial ground unit. So you could mix these with the different TIE fighters that are in the first set, or potentially any other Imperial unit that is going to be involved with this set or future sets. This is a very good card. 2/2 kind of low, but it is a 2-cost, so you can play it on turn 1. You don't want to do that because then you lose the when played effect, and that kind of reduces its effectiveness. But if you drop a Death Star Stormtrooper on turn 1, and then you move on to your next round, so on round 2, you play the Snowtrooper Lieutenant, you can attack with that Death Star Stormtrooper, and you will be able to get that extra attack. So it goes on to be a 5/1, I believe, if I remember the stats of the previous card correctly. And this is just a fantastic card to applicate attacking strategies as villainy and works very similar to Surprise Strike, which we've seen from Cunning, but Cunning is a neutral style aspect card. Fantastic card. I really appreciate the viewpoint from the Roll On Gaming guys, Kevin and Corwin, about this specific card and what they feel, how it's going to extend the way that the game is going to be played. This probably does inform the initial meta of the game. We know it's going to be a lot of Rebels versus Imperials. I don't know that too much is going to extend outside of that, but we'll see exactly how it comes forward. But this is a fantastic card, and I'm super excited to be able to play the Snow Trooper Lieutenant here in Star Wars Unlimited. Our next cards here come as a preview from FFG itself. Now, these next several cards that are coming in a line are all previewed by FFG, but there is one article that dropped before the live stream, then several cards were revealed in the live stream itself, and another article that dropped after the live stream. Both of those articles and the stream itself will be linked in the description below, so make sure to check those out for yourself and get all the extra information. But right off the bat, we have the Fleet Lieutenant. Let's go ahead and zoom this in a little bit. Fleet Lieutenant here is a 3-cost heroism ground unit. 3 power, 3 health, Rebel Trooper. When played, you may attack with a unit. If it's a Rebel unit, it gets +2/+0 for this attack. Seems familiar. It is a common from SOR. It is 240 out of 252. Now, as per the previous thing, the Snow Trooper Lieutenant, it looks like, at least with these 2 cards, lieutenants are designed to allow you to attack with a unit as additional action economy within playing just the 1 card, and then buff its attack for being able to do so. So this can be a Sentinel Buster, it can be a big bunker attack, it could be a preemptive unit killer, so on and so forth when you're attacking with another Rebel. It is a 3-cost. So this specific unit actually plays into the drop a 2-cost round 1, then drop this 3-cost round 2 a lot better than the Snow Trooper Lieutenant does. The Snow Trooper Lieutenant, you're going to have that like urge to play it on round 1, and you don't want to do that, whereas Fleet Lieutenant couldn't do that in the first place. But this is another fantastic card, and again, Rebel unit, so your X-Wings get to attack, your security troopers get to attack, anything you have that is a Rebel unit will be able to attack with this card, and I think this is actually going to be an interesting synergy with Leia Command Leader, because she does something similar. When you attack with a unit, you attack again afterwards, utilizing her action to do that, or when she attacks on her leader side, you attack with another unit. So a lot of what Leia is probably going to rely on is multiple attacks with cheap units on the board, and I think that's really neat strategy for the Fleet Lieutenant. Our next card here is a villainy card that has caused a lot of discussion in the community, and it is Galactic Ambition. It is a 7-cost villainy event. It is a rare from SOR. It is, I believe, 235 out of 252, and it says play a non-heroism unit from your hand for free. Deal damage to your base equal to its cost. Right off the bat, this doesn't look like a great event, and I'm coming a little bit closer to also saying that it's not a great event, but there are some interesting shenanigans you can get up to with it. It being a non-heroism unit means you can't use any heroism units in this, which means you're not mixing the heroism in the deck anyway, but it also informs you if you pull this as part of your draft and you choose to use it, you're not going to want to put as many heroism units in your deck because it conflicts with Galactic Ambition. But what this does is, at 7 cost, it allows you to play anything that is 8 cost or higher for less while taking damage equal to its cost. But the aspect penalty is not a cost on the card. It is a penalty to the total cost as a whole. So if you were to play something that had 5 cost, but in your deck, if you had Command Villainy Aggression, and you wanted to play a card that was Vigilance Cunning, which we don't know exists yet, but it could, and it was a 5 cost, that's going to cost you 9. But you play Galactic Ambition, technically it cost you 7, and it only damaged you for 5. That's one way of doing it. There are other things that might be able to reduce the cost of something that may make it so that you don't take as much damage. There's a lot of different interesting space for Galactic Ambition to play with. I don't know, again, we know a very small amount of cards in the first set. I don't know that there's going to be anything in SOR that's going to be a big pull for Galactic Ambition, but I think this is what is traditionally known as draft chaff, which is going to potentially allow you to get a unit out and then on your next round attack with that unit for a big attack, or maybe even something that just has a big when played effect that you just need now. Maybe in the future we'll see a unit that says when played, defeat target non-leader unit. If your opponent has a big unit on the board and you need to get rid of it, 7 cost for a certain amount of damage to you to also get rid of that unit, that might be a big play and necessary for the design space. One thing that has been talked about, and I actually do agree with going over it a little bit more, is if there are cards, units that will specifically say if you do these things, win the game, and Galactic Ambition can cheat that out for less, that would not be a great design space. Or even if you do these things, your opponent loses the game, same thing. But it could be a possibility that you want to just do a big flashy move early on that you know is going to win you the game quicker, even if it does cost you 20 life to do it. There is an opening in design space for this card. I personally am not sure that it will be filled. I don't think that it is bad game design, and I think calling it bad game design at this stage is poor because we don't have a large amount of cards within the space. It could go either way. That's pretty much it. Next, we have a fantastic card that I think is going to see a lot of play even outside of Spark of Rebellion, and it is going to be a card that has multiple uses, and we're going to go over some of those uses right now. We have here Force Choke. It is a 2-cost aggression villainy event. It is a force event. It is a uncommon from SOR. Ignore the unit number on the bottom. That is listed correctly on the databases where that is informationally correct. We were given the unit numbers for these demo cards. As you can see, it says demo in the center here. This just pertains to the demo decks themselves, but it is an uncommon. It is part of Spark of Rebellion, and it says, if you control a force unit, this event costs 1 less to play. Deal 5 damage to a non-vehicle unit. That unit's controller draws a card. 2 cost, deal 5 damage. This is much stronger than open fire, but it is explicitly 2 aspects. It is aggression and it is villainy. It costs 1 less if you have a force unit in play. So if you've got Vader on the board, now this is a 1-cost deal 5 damage. But there are multiple things that this thing could do to aid you in being able to get things done. You can knock out, dome an opponent's units and allow them to draw a card. That's not that big of a deal, especially if it's a Sentinel that's blocking you. You could dome your own units, such as Super Laser Technician, or potentially a card we see a little bit later in the future, where it gives you something for doing that, and then you get to draw the card because it's your unit, you controlled it. Now, interesting thing about this, and I don't know if this is a design space they thought of or if something that's going to be coming in the future, it specifically says that unit's controller draws a card. So if you steal a unit from your opponents, use it to attack, and then dome it with Force Choke, you still draw the card because you are controlling the unit. Pretty big power play there. This card is on the highest end of playability in the first set, and I know I've said I need to manage my expectations, but like, this card is nuts. 2 cost, 5 damage. It's only going to be used in a certain amount of decks. It's an auto include in every Vader deck, because certainly at some point in time, Vader's going to drop down and you'll have 1 resource to be able to just blast your opponent for 5 damage or something that you need to do, like I've said before. But this is a fantastic card, and even sticking this in your your Vader Imperials deck, it's going to do a lot of work for you to clear out the space for your other Imperials to attack, or potentially, again, speed you up by doing other things. I love my X-Wings, don't get me wrong, but right now this is the top card of the set. Next, we have the second villainy side card that was revealed for the demo decks by FFG during the stream, and it is Admiral Modi, Brazen and Scornful, 2 cost, villainy ground unit, 1 power, 1 health, Imperial, official. When defeated, you may ready a villainy unit, and it is a starter card. Remember how I said Force Choke could dome one of your own units to give you an advantage? Think about this. You have your 7 resources. You flip your leader into Vader. Your opponent does a thing. You go, cool, I have Modi on the board already. Or you even play Modi, right? Your opponent does their thing. You go, cool, I'm going to attack with Vader into your base or into your unit and destroy it and clear it off the board. Your opponent does their thing. You go, cool, Vader's on the board, if he's still on the board. You pay 1 cost, you Force Choke Modi, Modi readies your Vader, and you draw a card. So it is a 3-ish card combo, but it does give you the opportunity to go attack with Vader, destroy Modi, attack with Vader in about 4 actions. It's a lot. 3 actions at most if you already have Modi on the board. It's a lot of resources, and not necessarily a lot of resources, but it's a lot of effort to put up. But if your opponent doesn't stop it, they're going to take a ton of damage right off the bat, especially if you have Vader's Saber on Vader itself, because you're pinging with Vader's damage from his actual unit card. You get the Vader Saber damage if you play it onto Vader, the turn after, and then the actual power pump from Vader, Vader Saber gives Vader a bunch of extra damage, and then Modi just lets you do that whole cycle again, except for the on play on Vader Saber, obviously. This is a strong card. Remember how I said Force Choke was the strongest card in the first set? I still think that this is probably the second strongest. And there is a space here of future proofing that it specifically says you may ready a villainy unit, not an Imperial unit. I think it should have said Imperial, but I like the fact that if we decide that we want to throw Modi in a villainous Republic deck in the future, he's an official. There might be things that are proc off of officials, but if you have villainy units that need to be able to attack multiple times a turn, Modi, play him on the round before. On the next round, when you get your big, when you're ready to do your big attacks and stuff like that, attack with your big thing, ram Modi into something else, attack with your big thing again. It plays itself. This is a good card. This is a really good card. And this is another reason why I think from the small amount of stuff that we've seen, I mean, Imperials are just bonkers. They're just that good, right? I haven't seen anything from the Rebels that make me say, hey, I think this could actually handle how aggressive Vader is right now, right? We might see another Imperial leader that does different things. I believe Emperor Palpatine's still on the board. There are still things available for the Imperials to get that do different things that might make people play a different style of Imperials, Krennic. But Rebels right now don't seem to have the ability to slow down the Imperial advance, and that's what the Imperials seem to be about. And we'll get more on that later when we talk about the live stream, but Modi is a good card. Our next two cards come from the Rebel side of the demo decks that are being previewed at Gen Con, and we're actually going to go over both of these together because there is a theme to these two cards. There is a powerful conjunction of their effects, and I think that they're going to inform a lot of deck building for Heroism and for Rebels going on because of what they bring to the table. First card here is R2-D2. We have here a 1-cost Heroism ground unit, R2-D2 ignoring protocol, 1 power, 4 health, when played or on attack, look at the top card of your deck. You may put it on the bottom of your deck. Otherwise, leave it on the top of your deck. And then the other card is C-3PO, 2-cost Heroism ground unit, C-3PO protocol droid, 1 power, 4 health. When played and on attack, choose a number. Then look at the top card of your deck. If the cost is the chosen number, you may reveal and draw it. So these two cards together are going to provide a combo of R2 lets you look at the top of your deck and stack it. C-3PO allows you to gain a benefit based upon that stack, or continue to stack your deck for other things that might be coming in the future. And because these are both Rebels, they're both Heroism, and they're both low costs, they're going to be the focus of the beginning of the Rebel Heroism decks, because they do that information thing, which R2-D2 and C-3PO with the Death Star plans, definitely what they do. R2-D2 gets you the information, C-3PO translates that information for you, and both of these are starter cards, so they're going to be in the starter decks. Who knows at how many copies, but they're going to be there, and it's going to be a significant force for these two if you can get those into your opening hand. The other thing that this does is it gives you more actual options for You're My Only Hope, because when R2-D2 is played or on attack, you can look at the top card of your deck, you can decide if You're My Only Hope is worth playing for that turn. And as you get deeper and deeper into your base health, getting closer to that, if you have 5 or less, it's free, you can make that decision of, is this 3 cost worth playing the top card of my deck? Same thing with 3PO. 3PO allows you to try to thin your deck a little bit to get those cards drawn into your hand, but if you're wrong, you still know what the top card of your deck is. And that's a fantastic pair of cards that provide you a huge benefit of knowledge to the top part of your deck. And I said before, we didn't know enough about what you can do with the top card of your deck to make a true adjustment or evaluation of You're My Only Hope. But with these two cards, cheap and accessible, 6 copies of these is going to make your 3 copies of You're My Only Hope much more playable, so long as we get other things in the future that are playable off of You're My Only Hope. 2 pieces of the puzzle. You're My Only Hope, R2-D2 and 3PO, and the last piece we need is something big or something important to be able to actively play with You're My Only Hope. Fantastic cards. R2-D2 alone, I think, is absolutely a 3 of in every Rebel deck. Every Heroism deck even. 3PO less so, but if you really like that stacking, that ability to draw cards if you call the right card or you're prepared for the planning, so on and so forth, because what you would need to do is first turn you would need to attack with, second round you would need to attack with R2-D2 to know that card off the top of your deck, then play 3PO to call the number to be able to draw it if that's what you want to do. which you would, otherwise you wouldn't play it. Fantastic group of synergy, a very good pair of Rebel cards that I think are going to be very solid going forward. R2-D2 for sure, 3PO less so, but still quite good. On the 26th of July, Fantasy Flight Games ran a FFG Live about Star Wars Unlimited. And in that video, we got to see a bunch of previews. In that video, they also explained to us what the core demo decks are going to be for Gen Con. And also they went over the previously mentioned heroism and villainy aspect article that they had expected to accompany this stream. There will be another article after this stream, and I'll address that then as well. One of the things that actually happened in the heroism and villainy aspect article was that they finally decided to use the names of the colors for the aspects, and I hate it because they had an opportunity to do something really cool here by maintaining unique, and now it's basically just magic but Star Wars and yellow, right? It's not as reductive as I'm making it out to be. I'm just very disappointed that they chose to use colors instead of sticking with the aspects. It would be hard initially, but even myself, I'm getting used to it, 2 months later. And once somebody is interacting with the game daily and actually playing the cards and referencing them, that stuff just sticks, right? It is what it is. Going through the core tenants here, we had Josh Massey, the organized play program manager. We have Danny Schaefer, game designer. I was actually surprised he wasn't originally listed as going to be on the stream, but it's always nice to see Danny. It's a fun guy. And then we have Jeremy Zwern. I apologize if I butchered your name. Game designer. Also, lots of different things going on between the three different game designers, Danny, Jeremy, and Tyler. We saw Tyler last week, and they went over a lot of stuff. A couple of the things, starting right off the bat with the heroism and villainy aspects. Heroism specifically is designed to buff allies and disrupt your foes, while villainy is designed to sacrifice its units to do what it takes to win. You can stall the game out to get out your big units, or you can just swarm your enemy with a lot of compelling damage right off the bat. Villainy generally defeats units directly. Heroism deals with generally non-lethal options such as tapping them down or bouncing them or other different things that when it comes to dealing with an opponent's units. But they still do a lot of attacks. One of the things that I have seen on the subreddit, and I'm taking as well as, not subreddit, the Discord, I'm taking it myself to be able to call these things. We have style aspects and we have morality aspects. Our style aspects are cunning, command, aggression, and vigilance. Our morality aspects are heroism and villainy. Makes sense, right? The morality aspects are generally separate from each other with no crossover. You're not going to see heroism and villainy decks. This divides the card pool almost completely in half to structure what strategies are between the various different style aspects, because we can still see aggression, villainy, aggression, heroism. We can still cunning, villainy, cunning, heroism, yada, yada, blah, blah. One of the things that does happen is Jeremy does call out Resistance and First Order as other factions and Republic that are going to be available down the line with morality aspects, but Spark of the Rebellion specifically focuses on Imperial and Rebel. And there's a little bit of argument. I've gone over it a couple of times and I'm starting to hear a little bit more what other people are saying. I still don't think that we will see anything other than Rebels, Imperials, and era-specific scum characters in Spark of Rebellion, but there's a possibility, based upon what Jeremy said, that there could be Republic, Resistance, First Order, and even Separatist units separate from theme in Spark of Rebellion. And I honestly think that's more just because he has so much stuff going on in his head at any given time, rather than an actual telling us we're going to see these things in Spark of Rebellion. I would be surprised if we saw anything other than original trilogy era units, locations, situations in Spark of Rebellion. That's really all I can say about it. Really big major point here for me. Josh likes Kanan Jarrus, and I like Josh. Hi, Josh. We appreciate your view of Kanan Jarrus. It validates that Rebels is, in fact, a good series, because it is. It's rough to start, but it's still a good series. One thing that was covered is that characters potentially could have versions that cross over between moralities. Vader, Anakin is a very good example of that. Lando, another good example of that. But it might be harder for certain characters than others. I don't think you're really going to see a Leia that crosses over between heroism and villainy, but you never know. The game is unlimited, after all. Style aspects will be covered in future articles and streams, much like the morality aspects were covered on Wednesday. And then they got into the demo experience itself. So one of the things that they specifically stated was, this is a great representation of the game, even with a smaller deck and experience. You're still going to get an idea of how the ebb and flow of Star Wars Unlimited is going to work with the demo decks. The demo decks specifically will premiere at Gen Con. FFG will be out in force at Gen Con, and all of the events are in fact full as of the Gen Con event space page on the Gen Con website. However, they will be opening up additional seating for in-person signups. maps. So if you are going to Gen Con and you haven't signed up for an event yet on the Gen Con website, don't worry. Just head over to the FFG space. They're going to be running demos every single hour, and you never know, people might not show up. They might have extra space. They might have extra demoers. Shoot your shot. Make sure you get in there and test this game out, because it's going to be an experience you're not going to want to miss if you're at Gen Con. And plus, they're going to be there all 4 days. Every hour as best they possibly can. What's there to lose, right? Demo decks will be 30 card decks optimized to get a taste of the gameplay, which probably means there's not going to be 3 copies of every card that are in those decks, much like the demo decks that the community have created, myself included. The leaders will be Luke and Vader. And then this is where they went down and they started showing us some of the previews. So Danny clarifies that you do always control your leader, but it's not always considered a unit, obviously. So at the end of the stream, they did go over a bunch of questions that were set up in advance and some questions that they saw during the stream itself. So we're going back to the uniqueness rule. The question here is, can you play a copy of another card over the same title? And the answer is yes, as long as you pay the costs and you choose which one survives. The copy that leaves the field is considered defeated according to Danny and Jeremy. But then the follow-up question here is, does that card get the when played effect even if it's the one that's defeated? And the answer is yes, they still get their when played effect because they are in fact played and then defeated. So if you have that Leia, Defiant Princess I think is what she's called, she has the when played effect that you either ready a resource or you exhaust an opposing unit. If you have one of those on the board already and you choose, like, let's say it has shields, and you choose the new Leia, which would come into play exhausted, you can activate the when played ability of the new Leia, but bounce her out defeated because you already have a better Leia on the board. Or vice versa, if you have an exhausted Leia that's on the board that has damage, you can bring in the new exhausted Leia, rip the old one off, defeat it, get the effect, and have a fresh brand new Leia for the next round. Another question here is about resources. Can you look at the resource cards during the game? Yes. Usually won't matter, but potentially will in the future. So that means that when you place your resources face down, they are knowledge to you, so you can pick them up to see what you have in there, but they are not knowledge to your opponent. The other one, and this one was a little pedantic for me, but it does at least answer the question that's going to be asked. Upgrades. Can you play an upgrade on an opposing unit? Yes, so long as it doesn't say your unit. And then also on top of that, you will get the effect of any when played abilities as long as it doesn't say the controller gets the effect. For example, yes, you could put your Vader Saber on your opponent's unit and then deal 4 damage to one of your opponent's units with your own when played ability. It's pedantic and stupid, but it is something that is available for people to do if they really want to do that. And then the other thing is, this was a really important situation. Everything resolves in the order it's selected, and it resolves independently of other things. So if you have an attack, an effect, an attack, and an effect, you have an attack, that thing resolves with the effect. Then the second attack resolves with the effect. So for example, if you have Leia on the board and you have R2-D2 and 3PO, right? You could activate Leia's ability to exhaust her and attack with R2-D2. R2-D2 attacks, resolves his effect, does his thing, and then you go to the next attack in the line in Leia's text, which would be your 3PO. 3PO attacks, does his effect, resolve effect, right? So so far as we can tell, there's no real stack in terms of things that resolve in the last that they do, because everything is individual with the exception of attack, do thing, attack, right? Leia, command, lead is the greatest example. Because she does say attack, then attack with another unit. So you have to do everything in the first part first, and then everything in the second part second. They resolve in the order that they're stacked from bottom to top, but because there's no interruptions in our game, that's not gonna matter all that much, at least right now. And then the last thing they discussed at the stream is that there's going to be another article that drops about the demo experience, which again will be linked in the comment below, and we'll check out those 2 previews right here. And our first one is First Legion Snowtrooper. It is a 2-cost aggression villainy ground units. It has 2 power, 3 health. It is an Imperial Trooper. It has when attacking a damaged unit, this unit gains +2/+0 and overwhelm. Deal excess damage to the opponent's base. And then on top of that, it is a common. We do know the set number. It's just not here available for me, and I don't want to go dragging it up. Again, Imperial Trooper strategy here. You use your other Imperial Troopers to damage a unit, and then you use the First Legion Snowtrooper to finish it off. Even if this dies, if you can still get at least 3 damage off, or even 2 damage for 2 cost onto your opponent's base while also clearing the unit, it's pretty good. And remember, when Snowtrooper Lieutenant enters play and says, hey, First Legion Snowtrooper, go attack that. Now this thing's all of a sudden, if it's attacking a damage unit, a 6/3 and overwhelming. The combo variations are nuts. It might be slow and it might be methodical, but the Imperials will kill you. They will kill you. And this is going to be one of the cards that does it. Low cost, throw it on the board your first round, get ready to start attacking on the next 2-3 rounds with it, and just blow up your opponent's forces. Just blow up your opponent's forces. That's what the Imperials want to do. Blow you up. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Death Star that it just says, point at a unit, it dies. And our second card from the FFG article is a Cunning card that is a very powerful effect, even if you don't think it is. The card is called Waylay. It is a 3-cost Cunning event. It specifically says, return a non-leader unit to its opponent's hand. It is a common card from SOR. I have played card games for almost my entire life. I have always valued bounce effects much higher than damage or destroy or remove, right? For 5 cost, Vanquish says destroy target non-leader unit. That's pretty good because it gets rid of anything no matter what, even if it has shields, right? But if a unit says this unit cannot be destroyed by effects, you cannot vanquish it. Same thing with Open Fire. Open Fire or Force Choke can deal a bunch of damage, but if your opponent has a shield on that unit, you want to spend something else to damage that unit first to get rid of the shield and then damage it with your other card. That's a 2-card combo. Waylay just says you go home. One of my favorite cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is called Compulsory Evacuation Device. A friend of mine and I, who used to be one of the managers I worked with a long time ago, a literal lifetime ago, we used this card as a 3-of in every deck we played for the longest time, because it turns out that a lot of cards have effects that can negate destruction. They can negate the activation of a spell or trap card that destroys. They can negate monster effects that destroy. They can negate monster effects, all kinds of stuff, right? This is before Omni negates existed within the game, but not very many things, if any at all, said counter target trap that doesn't destroy a card, right? So Compulsory Evacuation Device, much like Waylay, says that monster goes back to your hand. And in later formats of Yu-Gi-Oh, where special summoning from the extra deck was really strong, your opponent spends all these resources to bring up this really cool special summon monster, let's say Stardust Dragon, which was very popular at the time that I played. Yes, I'm old. I go, cool, Compulsory Evacuation Device, send it back to your hand. Stardust can't negate that because it's not destroying it. You could counter trap it with like a Solemn or something like that. Solemn Judgment, which you spend half your life points to negate the activation of a trap card. But like, all it does is just say, cool, goes back to your hand. But you can't send those back to your hand. They have to go back to the extra deck. So all the resources you spent to do that, gone. Waylay is the exact same thing. It says, see that? Goes back to your hand as long as it's not a leader, right? So all the resources you spent to get that big unit, or even these small units into the board, you set this 3-card combo that sets you up to be like, cool, I've got Vader on the board. Vader Saber's done the thing. I've got Modi. Modi's my next target for Force Choke to be able to draw me a card. Cool. Since I know Force Choke is coming, I'm just going to Waylay Modi back to your hand. It's not incredibly valuable, but it does disrupt the combo. Magic the Gathering's the same way. There's a lot of things that can counter or stop the destruction of cards. Not as many things can stop returning a creature back to your opponent's hand. That's why Cyclonic Rift is so strong. It also does literally everything, but it still returns it back to the hand. Unless you phase out, there's really not much you can do to stop that. Waylay is strong. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Waylay is strong. It's probably the strongest trick that Cunning has right now. Surprising Strike, very good card. Leia, very good card. Gunship, not as great of a card, but it's still a decent card. They have interesting effects that are tricksy, but this is the trixiest play to just say, you know, I don't have the resources to be able to destroy that or get it off the board permanently, but I'm going to make you spend double the resources to bring it back, because you already spent the resources to get it in the first place. Waylay is good. Soapbox done. Our next preview comes by way of the Strictly Casual YouTube channel, link below, and it is the Vigilant Honor Guards. The Vigilant Honor Guards are a 5-cost Vigilance Heroism ground units with 4 power, 6 health. It is a rebel. They have an ability that says, while this unit is undamaged, it gains Sentinel. It is a common from SOR. It is card number 48 out of 252. It's a nice big image here, right? Vigilant Honor Guards are acting like they're about to drop the hottest new boy band album in Star Wars Unlimited. all jokes aside, I actually really do like the art and the preparation of them ready to be in combat. The unit as a whole, at face value, is really good. When you take a second to kind of look under the hood of the game, though, they're actually really bad. They're not any better than the Consular Security Force, which is a 4 cost for a 4/7 with no text. And the reason why that is because unless they have shields on them, the Vigilant Honor Guards are actually very easy to get around when it comes to Sentinel. All you have to do is ram one thing into it or deal 1 damage to it, and they can be ignored pretty much safely for the rest of the game, unless you have something that can just straight up destroy them, or if the 4 damage per round is dealing too much damage to your bases or other units. So the easiest play to do here is to play a card. If, like, let's say if you're Vader, you are playing an Aggression Vader deck, you play any of your villainy cards. On your next activation, you exhaust Vader and you ping this for 1. It now no longer has Sentinel and is not a threat in any way, shape, or form, except for clearing off your units off the board. But even still, if you were to just say, cool, when this comes down, if you already have something like Modi or Super Laser Technician on the board, you just ram one of those 2 into this, get the benefits from the previous card, whether it's the Technician or Modi, and then this again gets its text blanked. Now, yes, Vigilance can heal this. There are other ways of being able to take damage off the card or protect it from damage, but as a whole, maybe in the first set it's going to be really good because Sentinel is really good across the board in general, but for 5 cost 4/6 no guaranteed Sentinel, it's playable. Definitely in draft it's playable, but I don't think it's going to be a card that is used widely. Great looking art though. It's just fantastic. Again, the hottest new boy band album. I shouldn't even be boy band, but the hottest new, teenage band album. Anyway, it's an okay card. Probably not going to be seen in a lot of decks. Maybe a Rebel defense deck if there's a separate Rebel Vigilance leader that wants to pack this, or there's another Rebel leader that gets Rebel effects, whether they get extra boosts, extra shields, any of those types of things that would pack Dagobah Swamp with that leader. But it is going to take a little bit of work to get these guys into a position to be good overall. So that just about covers everything that we've seen so far in the last week. If anything happens Tuesday or Wednesday before this airs, obviously that'll be covered in the next week per usual. But that's all we have for this video today. Longer video. I don't know if it's longer. I haven't pieced together all the time codes. Obviously this is before editing. There's a lot of information. We got a lot of cool information. And with Gen Con right around the corner, literally this weekend, more information should be coming out. So next week should also be at least a meaty video for whatever information I can grab. Make sure you're hanging out with us on the Star Wars Unlimited Discord and the Star Wars Unlimited subreddit. That is Star Wars Unlimited, nothing else after, on the subreddit. I'll put a link to the Discord in the description below, so that way you guys can get there. A couple of things I want to go over, a little bit of housekeeping. I am trying to figure out how I want to do in terms of when the set releases, how I want to do presenting like box openings or pack openings and stuff like that. And this is where I want to hear from you all. So per the normal YouTube crap, comment below on how you think I should handle openings on the channel. What I normally do is I will actually stream on Twitch box openings of stuff. I haven't opened any boxes lately on stream. I've been opening fab off stream, Flesh and Blood. But with Star Wars Unlimited being the main focus of this YouTube channel as it stands now, I could open on stream and put the VOD here, or I can open things separately and just put the video here, or, and I've seen some other creators do this for other games, I could just show you the big hits and give you guys a breakdown of like what a pack is going to look like. So if you want to see full box openings, if you want to watch me live do it, I can set up a date where I do it as the set comes out next year. Or if you just want to see the hits, that's cool too. I'd rather focus on what the community would like to see as a whole. So please, in the comments below, let me know how you want me to handle product opening when it comes to Star Wars Unlimited. Obviously, this is separate from anything that might be sponsored. That will have separate details that are there. This would just be my personal boxes that I would set aside. I'm still considering if I'm going to get a case or not, but anything that would be part of my own personal purchases for myself and then also the channel would be done according to what I think people might like. So it's a lot of words to just say. Comment to say how you would like to see me open boxes and other products with the game. Also, let me know what you liked about the previews that we've seen so far on the FFG Live. Let me know if you're going to Gen Con so we can cheer you on here in the basement of RybackStun headquarters, I guess is what this is. And then like and subscribe to the video. follow the channel, all the other stuff. It's the YouTube thing. Watch the video. That would be greatly appreciated. But that's it. That's all we have today. Well, I hope you all enjoy your week. I hope you all enjoy Gen Con if you're going. And if you're not going, I hope you enjoy the sideline content with me. Thank you very much for joining me, folks. I appreciate each and every one of you. And we will see you in the stars.